us, while he's also studying American culture and literature at Ege University. And the topic of his paper, well, the title of his paper for today is An Atheist Hero, Doctor Who. The floor is yours.
There used to be magic in this world. Gods, demons, angels, fairies, and witches. All of them had magic naturally. The powers of or mystical events of nature were attributed to gods and explained as magic. The nature simply was ripped from her powers. At the age of enlightenment, magic left its place to the science. Wild myths are the stories of the ancient man about why nature works as the way it does. Science explains how the nature works as it does. The science gave the power of nature back to the nature herself, which was once removed from her. In the 20th century, humanity reached space, the secrets of DNA were revealed, and quantum physics was introduced. Borders of the world, which was known to be fixed, was broken. It was learned that there were millions, even billions of stars and worlds were there in space. The technology opened a way to man-made intelligence. But some questions remained unanswered. Are there any other intelligent beings in the vastness of the universe? Is there a copy of each of us in those parallel universes? Is there a possibility that robots may take over the human civilization? As in the ancient times, in the advance of crucial events, new mythologies and heroes were created. UFOs, parallel universes, time travel, artificial intelligence, and new heroes such as Doctor Who. Of course, there is a slight difference between old and new scientific mythologies. While old myths are about the past heroes and events, new scientific myths are futuristic. They take place in the future. Doctor Who is the hero that searches and puts his subjective meanings on these stories. While he tries to explain these scientific mythologies, unanswered questions of science, he visits humanity's history, traditions, religions, and he suggests answers for human morality and humanity itself. Doctor Who is a scientific hero of the new era. He looks down on religions. He's a secular hero in a godless universe. So, what is a scientific hero? He or she is a hero who uses science and scientific gadgets to save the day. Scientific heroes rising from the fate of science will save us rather than doom us. The ancient heroes battled for love, duty, and protect homes, families, and friends. The Doctor battles for protection of the universe, all kinds of creatures, and his friends. A hero who is defined in Greek mythology is a person who has divine ancestry, who has courage, strength, and is celebrated by both gods and people. The Doctor doesn't have a divine ancestry. He has a highly technological ancestry. He is not a half human, half god. He is absolutely an alien, while his appearance is humanoid. The Doctor doesn't have the courage of Greek heroes, but he has his special curiosity. Quote, "There is something here that doesn't make sense. Let's go and poke it with a stick," unquote. Most of the heroes risk their life for the one they love or their own purposes. Some of them resurrect as they are, but most resurrect as a flower, a tree, or even a constellation. The Doctor sacrifices himself also, but he doesn't resurrect as the old Doctor. He regenerates. Every time he has a different face. Ancient heroes were well known by their price, which forced them to reject the state's power and God's power. Rejecting this power brings their end. This pride is called hubris, which is their fatal flaw. This characteristic is very obvious in Doctor Who. He confronts the most powerful creatures in the universe and threatens them with a sonic screwdriver. Ancient heroes were dealing with fairies, demons, and gods. Doctor Who deals with extraterrestrials, robots, and crazy scientists. For him, demons and gods are simply parasitic alien races. He travels through the universe in a blue British police box, which was very common sight in 1963 in England. The box is called TARDIS, a sentient time-traveling machine. It's not only a machine, it's alive. The TARDIS is bigger on the inside than the outside. It can be called the horse of the Doctor. Ancient heroes had the horse, the Doctor has the box. A box which is filled with quantum wonders, and blue box which always opens a door to adventures, to unknown worlds, like the wardrobe of Narnia, the Narnia tales, but in a much better way. It is Sanctum Sanctorum, the holiest place of the Doctor, like a cathedral, but no one worships there. When one is there, the only thing he or she does is admiring the beauty of the science and wondering its secrets. When you are in her range, due to her energy, everyone speaks one language. She translates the languages. In a way, she unites all the creatures, all the races. In that case, she is the mother universe. Heroes of all times had a weapon, preferably a sword. Doctor Who has a sonic screwdriver, which opens every door, repairs every electrical problem, stops every monster. He has many faces, many names. His real name is unknown to the others. As one of the characters said to the Doctor, quote, "Your real name is hidden. It burns in the stars, in the cascade of Medusa herself," unquote. The unknown name is a part of his messianic character. As we know, Messiah is the God himself. God's real name is unknown. In ancient times, if you could know the name of a jinn, demon, fairy, or even God, it was believed that you could manipulate them. When Hebrew God was asked to give his name, he said, "Eko sam, hui sam, I am who I am." Obviously, the God puts a distinction between himself and the other gods. He cannot be manipulated like them. The Doctor's messianic character is obvious when he sacrifices himself for the sake of what he protects, mostly the earth. When he sacrifices himself, he is not reborn as Jesus or any other ancient hero. The religious word reincarnation is not used also. He regenerates. The term regeneration is a scientific term. In biology, regeneration is the process of renewal, restoration of damaged organs. He had many faces. So far, 11. Once upon a time he was born, but since then he has died, regenerated, and died all over again. He is not only a savior, but he is a destroyer also. He has the dark side of science. The duality in usage of science is obvious in his personality. He destroyed the universe once. He went to the beginning of the time when there was no time, no universe. In a timeless point, he recreated the universe with some scientific tricks. Therefore, one of his friends says that those enemies around him are simply because of him, because of his hubris, as a basic characteristic of all ancient heroes. She says, quote, "You make them so afraid. When you began all those years ago, sailing off to see the universe, did you ever think you would become this? The man who can turn an army around at the mention of his name. Doctor, the word for healer, the wise man throughout the universe. We get that word from you, you know. But if you carry on the way you are, what might that word come to mean? To the people of the Gamma Forest, it already means mighty warrior. How far you have come." Unquote. The more his name Doctor became known, the more enemies he gathered across the universe. His enemies saw him as the biggest threat to the balance of the universe. Every time he traveled through time, he changed the history, except the fixed points of it. In the ancients, there was an ultimate power over humans and gods called fate. Even gods couldn't change what the fate decided to do. In Doctor Who universe, the fate is simply nature. Nature always tries to fix herself. There are some stories which are fixed in time. For example, he cannot save the Titanic from sinking, but he can save some people from the ship. Ancient heroes were helpless in front of the fate, while Doctor is also helpless in front of the stories that are fixed in time. In a magical world, Nature could be manipulated by supernatural. Nature was the passive power, but science gave her power and powers back. Natural rules are dominating the world. Even Doctor Who should obey them. The ancient faith was replaced by the nature. The Doctor as a name is highly symbolic. When we consider him as an atheist hero, he chooses the Doctor, not a saint, sorcerer, knight, or even any heroic names. The Doctors in classical Latin means to show, teach, cause to know, and make to appear right. He falls from the sky inside the old borrowed blue box into life of people who are in search of a deed, a purpose. The existentialist philosophy is the base of every chapter of this classic. It's apparent in the transformation of his companions. In the second episode of the new series, he takes his companion 5 billion years into the future, where aliens from all over the universe have come to watch the death of motherland of humanity. While the Earth starts to burn away, the aliens and representative human race celebrates it. His human companion feels depressed and asks him why he cannot stop this. While watching all the aliens, she realizes no one is mourning. They just come to here to watch fireworks. Instead of becoming angry with them, she questions herself. Quote, "The end of the earth, it's gone. We are too busy saving ourselves. No one saw it go, all those years, all that history, and no one were even looking." Unquote. She learns that as the TARDIS is bigger inside than its outside appearance, every human being can have much more potential inside them. The Doctor says, quote, "Some people live more in 20 years than others do in 80. It's not the time matters. It's not the time that matters, it is the person." Contrary to the biblical tradition that teaches people that they cannot do any good things but bad things without God, the Doctor heals the bleeding scars that were opened in very fabric of their personalities by dogmas. There are other anti-religious elements in the Doctor Who universe. His enemies, Daleks and weeping angels, are significant in this case. As the German poet Rilke states, every angel is terrifying in the Doctor Who universe. If no one looks at them, angels are simply statues. They are made of stones. If one looks at them, then one should not close her eyes, even not blink. Every time you blink, they come closer and drain your life energy, which has made and will make you an individual. They send you back in the past and feeds on your present time. Obviously, these angels represent religion. On the surface, especially Christianity is angelic, but beneath its darkness, sending their victim back into the past symbolically shows they are the fossilized belief systems. When the Doctor sees Daleks worship to one of their kings, he says, quote, "Driven mad by your own humanity, you hate your own existence, that's why you believe in the gods." To recap, Doctor Who shares many similarities and differences with ancient heroes. He's the hero of the time, human-centered world. He doesn't use magic or need it. He has the science, which opens the gates of wonders that not any ancient heroes saw even in their dream. He explains himself in one of the new series chapters, called, "I will be a story in your head, but that's okay. We are all stories in the end. Just make it a good one." Because it was the best. A silly old man who stole a magic box and ran away. That box. You will dream about that box. It will never leave you. Big and little at the same time. Brand new and ancient. And the bluest blue ever. This year is the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. It's a long series. So I want to play a video for that special day.
When you began all those years ago, sailing off to see the universe, did you ever think you'd become this? The man who could turn an army around at the mention of his name.
I got too big, Dorian, too noisy. Time to step back into the shadows.
Your real name is hidden. It burns in the stars, in the cascade of Medusa herself.
It's more than just a secret, isn't it?
If we knew his name, we might have a clue to all this. Silence will fall when the question is asked.
You're a man with a long and dangerous past, but your future is infinitely more terrifying. The science immediately must be averted.
What's so dangerous about my future?
On the fields of Trenzalore, at the fall of the 11th, where no living creature can speak falsely or fail to answer, a question will be asked. A question that must never, ever be answered. You can't run away with this.
I've run it all my life. Why should I stop?
Because that we know what's at stake, why your life must save. The silence is determined that the question will never be answered, that the doctor will never reach Trenzalore.
I don't understand what's got to do with me.
The first question, the question that must never be answered, the oldest question in the universe, in plain sight, the question you've been running from all your life.
Yes, but what is the question?
It's the same story every time, but it always begins with the same two words.
What 2 words?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Doctor.
Oh, Doctor Who. If we knew his name, we might have a clue to all this.
I would like to thank both of our speakers for their very invigorating speeches. We have two very different types of heroes in these speeches. In one we have Rick Grimes, who comes from a post-apocalyptic world. We have a family hero who's forced to become a hero. A family man who becomes a hero. He represents authority. Therefore, the micro-society kind of looks up to him. And on the other hand, we have Doctor Who, which we don't really know who he is. The only thing we know is that he's extremely powerful, and that he can, I think most of your quotations were from Demon's Run, if I'm not mistaken. Right, well, in Demon's Run there's also a very famous line that goes, "Demons run when a good man goes to war." So just from his name, you get the grip that he is a force to be dealt with. So comparing these two heroes, I'd like to open the floor for any questions you might have for either or both of our speakers. There's one right there.
Is Rick Grimes a beat character?